Hey everybody, welcome to day 5 of daily CGI. I just got done studying for the evening and I sunk 1 hour and 32 minutes into reading more of the Blender documentation, the 3.4 reference manual. I made it through the editor's 3D viewport section, came out of this knowing quite a lot more about how to navigate in Blender, what all these different tools and menus and gizmos do, and yeah, it was quite eventful. Most of the stuff on the left hand side here I'm probably never say never, but I'm probably not going to use very much. Like, you can manually add a cube by dragging a face and then moving the mouse up and down. Not really my style, so instead I'll be going Shift A, selecting the object that I want to create, and then moving it accordingly. And then I learned you can bring up a menu on the right hand side here and change all the dimensions and whatnot manually. So that'll be good for plugging the very specific object sizes in. What else? Measuring tool I might use, but it's a bit fiddly. Annotate, you can write your own notes on the screen with a mouse or preferably a drawing tablet. That might be useful at some point. You can move, rotate, scale with these on the side here, and it brings up the X, Y, and Z axis. So you can manually move them like that, but then I know you can use G to move things with the keyboard, G and then the mouse, and you can move along the X, Y, or Z axis, and you can also do the same with scale, S. And what's the other one? Rotate, R. Change modes depending on what you want to do. Object mode, edit mode. Edit mode lets you access vertices and edges and whatnot. You switch between the type that you want to select. Right now it's vertices, which is 1. You can switch it to edges, which is 2, and faces, which is 3. Fundamentals. Then you've got different transform orientations. So with these X, Y, and Z axis, the global X, Y, and Z is as you'd expect it, as indicated up here. But if you change it to local, and then you rotate this, it changes the object's axis orientation. So then if you move along the Z-axis on this object, it's not straight up, it's whichever direction that Z-axis is facing locally. So all pretty basic stuff, but I guess it's stuff you'd want to know in certain situations. Transform pivot point, yeah. Obviously, if you're making a rotation on a particular type of object, like a door that's sitting in a door frame or whatever, you don't want to rotate the object from the center of the object. You want to set the pivot point to a different location, preferably from where the hinges would go, I guess. That kind of thing. Snap to. This is pretty basic. If you go create a cube and then create another cube just as an example, duplicate with Shift D, move along the Y-axis. We'll switch snap to on, we'll choose an edge, move it up along the Z-axis. So we want this to align with the top of this. Now it's perfectly aligned. Simple as that, and you can do it with all sorts, faces, edges, vertexes, heaps of options there. And you can turn back face culling on so that it doesn't snap to the back of an object, or like a back face or whatever. Give me a second. I've got to slow it down. Yeah, so turn on proportional editing in a second. I knew you could do this in edit mode, with vertices and faces and object edges and whatnot, but I didn't know you could do it in object mode. So we'll just set up 3 of these along the X-axis here, maybe a few more. Duplicate, move it wrong way, and then 4 more to the left hand side. Right, that's good enough just to serve as an example. So turn proportional editing on. That's what it's called, right? Yeah. And we'll select the middle 2 and we'll go scale along the z-axis. So you can see there's a field box type thing there. You can expand it out, control the size of that with the mouse scroll. And then you can obviously see the impact of proportional editing on the surrounding objects. I never really even thought too much about it. I just thought it was a thing you could use in editing mode, but obviously you can do that with objects as well. For a number of purposes, you can randomize, create different proportions and whatnot, I guess. Change the fall off. Yeah, random fall off. Pretty good. Delete. Switch that off. And then I guess the only other thing of note that I think was kind of cool, you can change wireframe, add wireframe mode on the geometry here, and you can change the opacity of the wires, the lines on the edge. That's different to, let me switch that off again. That's different to X-ray mode, which you can do here, and it makes the object somewhat translucent. And then obviously this means you can see through the object. It gets rid of the faces, but you can still see the lines. So there's a couple of different ways you can do it, isn't there? And then if you go into edit mode and go into this viewport overlay, there was some other cool features. You've got hidden wire. So let's delete the top face here. You can see, yeah, it hides the back wires and everything. Well, the edges and the vertices that are obscured by the faces. What else? Edit length, edge length rather. This is my favorite, and I wish I'd known this so much sooner. If you select an edge, you can have it display how long said edge is. This would have been so useful in the past. I had no idea this was a thing. I thought you could only use the measuring tool for some reason, but that is super useful. You can see it changing in real time, and you can see the influence the scaling of that one edge has on surrounding edges. You can also have it display the face area. So we switch to faces, select faces with 3, and you can see 2.93 meters squared. This thing is useful, man. And you can do it with angles as well. 82.42 degree angle there. Pretty useful stuff that I had no idea existed. You can turn on face orientation, so you can see the inside facing faces kind of thing there, and you can see the faces out here. This ties in with normals as well. You can turn on display face normals as lines and change the length of the line there. Yeah, making sure these normals are facing the right direction will be useful in the future if I'm like exporting out into other software and converting between pieces of software, just in case it gets it flipped. And then I guess that's about it for today, but that was it felt like quite a lot of talking, didn't it? Tomorrow I'm going to be reading up on image editor and maybe UV editor. We'll see how far we make it into the documentation, but I'm just going to keep going like this. I would, instead of doing 1 hour and a half a day, I'd love to double it per day a little bit, spend 3 hours, but again, I don't want to get burnt out, so we'll see how we go. Anyway, thanks for watching. Have a good one, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.